It's that time of year again where we pick out the best watches that I've reviewed in 2024 and merge them all together into one big video that's awesome because it's all the best watches that I reviewed in 2024. Welcome back to the Chisholm Hunter channel. My name is Harrison, as always, and it feels so good. It feels so good to not be ill. You know when you have a cold and you can't breathe through your nose, and then all of a sudden you can breathe through your nose again, and it's unbelievable. As I sip my peppermint tea to help settle my tum-tum. Anyway, enough of the weirdness. Let's dive straight into this video with number one. At number one, we have the Omega Aquaterra Black Lacquer Dial. The Black Aquaterra, the Black Stallion, the Black Diamond. I've heard all the nicknames of this watch. And it's weird that such a simplistic watch, such a simple change made a huge impact in the watch industry. I think it just goes to show that boring is better. The awesome watches and timelessness lies in simplicity. They've made something that's extremely simple to do. I mean, they've literally just changed the dial color to black, and everyone kind of lost their minds because it would just live forever. Now, there was 3 variations that they released of this new watch, 2 of which we had in the studio. So they released a 41mm variant, a 38mm variant, and also a 34mm variant. Now, my personal favorite here, I think this is just part of getting older. I seem to like smaller watches, but is the 38mm variant. I just love the way it fits on the wrist. I love the way it looks on the wrist. I love how it plays more into that dressy category. The Aquaterra has always been the more dressy element to the Seamaster collection. And I think for years, I liked it, but I just wasn't converted. And maybe part of that is to do with the teak pattern running across the dial. Maybe that was too much for me. With that said, I do like dial depth, so I honestly don't really know what it was. But this dial and this variant definitely converted me. It's a watch that I can see myself wearing and wearing for a very long time. And honestly, I'll come back to what I said at the start. I think it's because genius and timelessness lies in simplicity. And sometimes when you have a winning formula, a formula that you know is tried and tested and works, you don't need to make big changes. You just need to make little tweaks. And I think the little tweak that they made on this dial made this one of the best watches that I reviewed in 2024. Next up, we have the new Hamilton khaki field engineered garments. And yes, I know what you're thinking. What an odd choice. And I would agree, what an odd choice. But again, sometimes brands with limited editions go a little bit too overboard. And they just pull out every stop to make that watch look bright, look colorful, look bold. And sometimes that deters a certain segment of the market. But I feel what Hamilton have done with engineered garments is kept the Hamilton khaki DNA and just made tiny little tweaks. Again, a winning formula that doesn't need that many changes. The khaki field engineered garment is extremely small. It's very small. It comes in at 36mm in diameter and 10.8mm in height. The dial comes in black, and at first glance, you might think that this is pretty much any old khaki field. And then you turn it around to the back, and that's where you get the limited edition flares. And I think Hamilton have done it right here. And let me know if you agree, but I think when brands do limited editions, they should have a lining, a tasting, a fleck of the limited edition thing in there, but not totally change the concept of the watch. This still remains a field watch, a military-inspired watch, and it also comes in full titanium, which, by the way, is awesome. It's super, super light. So it didn't alter the DNA of the khaki field in any way, but it still made it a limited edition. And those who know. So this watch, yeah, I was absolutely blown away by. I didn't think I would be, but I was. And that makes it part of this, list. The next on the list is gonna upset a lot of people probably, because it is a Casio, but it's a MRG. I know. This is the Casio MRG, specifically the 2100 MRG. And honestly, when I first got this watch in and I took it to Iceland, my first impressions were I want to grill it for being so expensive. But I found it hard to grill it for being so expensive when I found out some of the intricate details and kind of metals that they've used in this watch. The MRG collection is essentially like the Grand Seiko to Seiko. It is the pinnacle of luxury that Casio or G-Shock makes. So you've got Casio, then you've got G-Shock, and then you've got the MRG, the Casio G-Shock MRG in terms of pricing. Now, I won't go into the exact reasoning as to why this is so expensive because I have done a full review of this in Iceland up a glacier. It's a long story, but you can watch that video. And I go into detail about how the case is made, how the different metals are made, how there's exclusive metals there to Casio or to the MRG range. And honestly, when I figured everything out and when I did my research, it kind of became clear. And I like the fact that Casio are trying to push the boat out, make new materials, make new stuff, do new creations, and aren't bound to just the Casio and G-Shock price point. This watch comes in at 44.4 millimeters in diameter and 49.5 millimeters in length, and it also comes in at 13.6 millimeters in thickness. It has a Ciberian titanium alloy with black DLC coating on that's the case material. And Ciberian, I think I'm saying that right, is exclusive to Casio. That's just one of the points that makes this watch so expensive. But honestly, I like when brands are pushing the boat out and don't want to be put in the one segment of the market. They're trying to branch out. They're doing new things. And sometimes new things are scary. I mean, look at Tesla. When they first brought out the Tesla, everyone thought it was really weird. And now it's taken over the world. So I like the fact that Casio are doing new things. And on the wrist, this thing is super, super sexy. Next on the list, we have another Amiga. And you guys are going to kill me because it is a boring watch to talk about because I've talked about it so much. But I have to put it in this video because it's one of the best watches I've reviewed, in 2024. This is the Amiga Speedmaster Sapphire Sandwich with the white dial. I don't want to dwell too much on this watch because it is just a dial change, but I am a fanboy of white dials. I've always loved white dials and I love the Speedmaster. And I don't know why it took Amiga so long to bring out a white dialed Speedmaster, if I'm totally honest. But I'm glad that they have because this is going to be, hopefully, my next watch. I love it that much. It is super sexy. The next watch on the list is the Blancpain Bathyscaphe Flyback in black ceramic with a blue dial. Now, Blancpain are the oldest watch brand in the world. Not in continuous production, because that goes to Vacheron, but they are the oldest watch brand in the world, and they're often overlooked in the industry. And I think part of the reason why they're often overlooked in the industry is because they are quite contemporary. They are quite classical in nature. But with this watch, with this flyback, you can see that they're starting to appeal to a younger market. They're a little bit more fun. They have a little bit more flair to them. And I like the fact that Blancpain are going down that route because they're such an amazing watch brand as it is. They just don't get spoken about enough in the industry. Now, this watch, when I got it on, trust me, it's not for the faint-hearted. It is big. It is bulky. It comes in at 43.6 millimeters in diameter and 15.25 millimeters in thickness. But then it is water-resistant to 300 meters. Plus, it has a bunch of technical features going on within this watch, which would obviously make the movement a little bit more chunky. I mean, it has flyback functionality to start with. I just really like the fact that Blancpain have taken their kind of ruggedness and toughness of the 50 Fathoms and spliced it with the kind of horology nature of Blancpain watches. So I don't think this watch is for the faint-hearted. The black ceramic is cool, but it's not for everyone. But when I got this into the studio, again, I wasn't sure, but after I tried it on, it did convert me. Plus, the blue dial on this is stunning. Simply stunning. I would put it up there with that of a Vacheron Constantin Overseas. It seems to change, it seems to evolve with the light, and I really, really like that. Blancpain is an underrated brand, and I want to give it its time in the limelight because it's cool. Next on the list is the Tudor Pelagos FXD GMT, a watch that you guys will be sick of hearing about, but hold on. Let me just tell you why I love this watch so much. So, I was nervous when getting this watch into the studio, and the reason that I was nervous is because of the lume, actually. I thought the lume on the bezel wasn't going to match the lume on the hands and the face. I thought one was going to be brighter than the other, and that would have thrown the dial off, and it just would have been a bit meh. But when I got this watch into the studio, it totally surpassed my expectations in every single way, just like Tudor tend to do. It was bright, it was bold. I love the fact it's an FXD. It gives it a point of difference. I'm not as keen in the strap. I'd probably change the strap over to something different if I'm totally honest, but the watch itself is just brilliant. And the fact it's COSC and METAS certified for around about the $4,000 mark is pretty unbeatable, if I'm perfectly honest. So yeah, I love this watch. Up next on the list, we have a banging watch from a banging brand because they release banger after banger. It is the Longines Spirit Zulu Time in titanium. This watch comes in at 39 millimeters in diameter. It hits the sweet spot that everybody wants in a watch nowadays because everyone is getting that little bit smaller. But what really shocked me about this watch, in a good way, is that the bracelet and the case, the polishing of that titanium is unbelievable. Honestly, I thought it was stainless steel. So typically speaking, titanium has a kind of darker hue to it than stainless steel. And that's part of the attraction to titanium. I honestly thought this was stainless steel for a second because of how brilliant the polishing was, because it reflects the light wonderfully. And to have a brand like Longines creating something that is this good, I thought was quite frankly unbelievable. I love the way that you have the grey and the black on that bezel. I love the fact that it's basically a monochrome watch apart from that, GMT hand that has that splash of red. They've used the perfect amount of colour on this watch to accentuate the details, but not kind of just go too far and make it just colourful and a bit weird. And I'm also a fan of the bracelet on this watch. I think it wears brilliantly, and Longines have been going through upgrade after upgrade after upgrade after upgrade, and they've just been bringing out banger after banger after banger after banger, and this is definitely one of the bangers. Next on the list with the anniversary, is it the 10th anniversary? Christ, maybe it's the I'm getting old. I think it's the 10th anniversary of Interstellar. It's something like that. Is it the 10th anniversary of Interstellar? 2014. It is the 10th anniversary of Interstellar. I was 17 when that got released. That's so depressing. So with the movie Interstellar, of course, you had the Murph watch, the original Murph watch that had the Eureka Morse code on the second hand. Fast forward a couple of years and they released the Murph Mini. Fast forward another couple of years, or a year, and they released a white dial version of the Murph. And I adore white dials, as you guys know. And I also adore the fact that Hamilton listened to the industry. Hamilton listened to their fan base and make changes based on what their fan base want. Something that not a lot of brands do. We wanted a white dial Murph, and we got a white dial Murph. Now, given Hamilton can't operate, extremely quickly, and we can't get things like this, and I know it takes time, but we got it. In the end, we got it. And to have a brand that actually listens to the fan base, listens to the community, is really quite nice. Now, the white dial Murph basically has everything that the Murph Mini did, apart from it is a white dial. I won't go into great detail because I have done a review on this watch prior. But one thing that I would have loved to see, and I think that we will see, it's just a matter of time, is this watch with a bracelet. Now, given, I'm pretty sure you can just take the bracelet off the other watch, Murph Mini, and put it on this watch. But I would love to see them release a bracelet with this watch. Next on the list is the Seiko Shogurai, the SRPL 1.5. But there are 3 different variations of this watch to choose between. You have kind of a burgundy red, you then have black and white, or you have a black and tans. Now, the black and tan was actually exclusive to Chisholm Hunter, and it sold out pretty much instantly. We've just got it back into stock now. This isn't even a plug, but we have got it back in stock now. But I adored this watch when I got it in, and it's not something that I thought I would adore. So the Shogurai essentially took the Shogun and also the Samurai and spliced them together to make this weird hybrid baby that kind of works. This watch is actually a little bit smaller than your average Seiko, coming in at 41.7 millimeters in diameter and 12.3 millimeters in thickness. The lug-to-lug comes in at 49.5 millimeters, and I just love the classical tones in this, the kind of more vintage, vibey, faded, tanned tones on the black. It gives it a point of difference to the generic white on black, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but it just gives it a point of difference. I am a great fan of Seiko. I love what they do for the money that they cost, and I just think this was one of the highlights of Seiko this year to me. Next on the list is actually an extra. This is an honorable mention. The reason that it's an honorable mention is because we haven't actually released the video. I think maybe we have. I don't think we have. If we shouldn't have released the video by the time you see this video. This is the Grand Seiko Icefall, a classic reincarnation of the 1998 mechanical watch. It comes in at 37 millimeters, the same as that classic reincarnation. And the dial on this thing is just to die for. I love the history in this watch. I love the modern innovation of the ever-brilliant stainless steel that they've used, or the Zaratsu polishing that they've used, or the dial and how the dial reflects genuine icefall and how it changes in the light. I really, this is honestly my new favorite Grand Seiko. I'm a bit of a Grand Seiko fanboy now. I feel like I should join those group chats, join those clubs, because I'm honestly getting to that point. Next on the list is the Doxa Sub 200T, a watch that's fun, a watch that has flair, a brand that has flair. I love a brand that's a little bit more dangerous, that does things that are out of the norm, and releasing yellow dials, releasing emerald green dials, blue dials, light blue dials. You know, every dial under the sun is that little bit more dangerous. And it's something that only smaller brands have the flexibility of doing, I feel, or maybe at least that's the only ones that actually do it. But I really enjoyed wearing this watch, and it's a watch that I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy wearing. We actually had the CEO of Doxa on the Into the Mind podcast, Jan Edox, and Jan was an awesome guy. And the way that he talks about the brand and the passion that he has for the brand and what he's doing with the brand. And he was very open and transparent about the industry and very honest. And I really resonated with that. And I think it comes down to the personalization of a brand. You know, when you know a person, or at least feel like you know a person, you have more of an attachment to that brand. You have more emotion connected to that brand. And it's something that Elon Musk has done very, very well. I mean, Tesla doesn't market themselves. Elon Musk is the marketing. And people that like Elon Musk like Tesla. And I feel like a lot of the brand CEOs, especially when it gets to the bigger brands, don't do enough of that. And that's why brands like Christopher Ward or Doxa or Certina, where there's a lot more interviews and a lot more podcasts and you can actually get to know the person. Hamilton's a great example. There's more personality in that and you get more of an attachment to that. Not to mention that it's a great product. Now, I won't go over the details of the product exactly because I have done a video on this, again, in Iceland. It's awesome. You should watch it. But yeah, this is a sick watch. Next on the list, we have the Longines Conquest, the new Longines Conquest. Now, there are 4 different sizes. You have a 34mm variant, a 38mm variant, or a 41mm variant. The 38s are where I would go again. And honestly, I just think this is like an affordable Rolex Datejust that you don't need to wait for. And I was infatuated with this watch. I think it is the dressy, sporty variant, more heavily dressy, of Longines arsenal. I love the colors that they brought out. I love the sizing that they brought out. I love the spread that they have across this range. They truly have options for everyone. And the quality, being Longines, is great. So it definitely hits the list. Next on the list is the Breitling Chronomat GMT40. This has the baby blue dial and a beautiful rubber strap. Now, let me tell you about this watch. Firstly, the specs are brilliant. Let me just cover them really quick. So this watch comes in stainless steel and platinum. It's water resistant to 200 meters. It comes in at 48 millimeters in diameter and it has a thickness of 11.77 millimeters. And the weight without the strap, so just the head, but remember the rubber strap will be pretty light anyway, is 110.81 grams. Now, basically what happened with this watch is my brother gave me this watch in a podcast that I was very nervous for. I'm a huge rugby fan. If any of you guys are rugby fans out there, then it's going to be great when Scotland beat you in the Six Nations, but let's move on. And essentially what happened is we had Duhan van der Merwe, one of the most amazing players in Scotland at the moment. He's the winger for Scotland. He's unbelievable, coming into the Mind podcast. And I was very, very nervous. He's a guy that I look up to, and being a rugby fan, seeing someone on the TV and then all of a sudden having them in person can be quite kind of nerve-wracking, shall we say. So before he came into the podcast, my brother was there and he gave me his watch. This is his watch. And he said, don't worry about it, you'll be fine. Just chat to him like a normal person, like you have, 50 times before in the podcast. And there was something about that moment that kind of connected me to this watch. It was a small interaction, and my brother probably thought nothing of it, but to me, it meant a lot. And because of that, I'll always have a connection with this watch. And I reviewed it this year up a hill, up in Monroe in Scotland as well, and I loved it. The next watch on the list is the Tudor Blancpain Monochrome. And we're not going to spend that much time in it because you guys will be bored of hearing about it. But essentially, it's Coskin Metas certified for under $4,000, which is just unbelievable. It's monochromatic. There's nothing not to like about this watch. I think that's what people struggle with about Tudor. They try and poke holes in Tudor, but they struggle to because there's not that much to poke holes in. Next on the list, we have the Tag Heuer Carrera Chronograph glass box. Now, the glass box. Probably the pinnacle of tag horror, in my opinion, at the moment. I love the history that goes behind this watch. I love the vintage flares. I love the leather strap, although typically I don't like leather straps, but on this watch, somehow it works. Now, the green dial to me is just unbelievable. I love the boxed sapphire crystal. I honestly love everything about this watch, but more specifically, I love the history. I really get upset when people call Tag a fashion brand because I think there's so much more than that. I think there's so much history to Tag. I think there's so much brilliance in the movements, especially now. What they're producing is great. They're COSC certifying a lot of their new watches. And the glass box is just a reincarnation of a brilliant old historical piece. And there's nothing not to love. And on that note, I've rambled for far too long. If you did enjoy, please hit that subscribe button. If you didn't enjoy, hit that subscribe button a little bit harder. Or follow our Instagram at Chisholm Hunter Watches, or my Instagram at HB Lifelens, and our podcast at Into the Mind Podcast. And I'll see you guys real soon.